part 2 of our episode on the Donner Party.
The meat and potatoes.
The meat and potatoes.
Tutorial on how to cook human will now begin.
God damn it, Matt. So Matt's back for part 2.
He never left. He's been here the whole time.
I've been in my cave eating meat.
Sweating.
And sweating. Sweating and eating.
If we remember correctly, our two...
No one's been eaten yet,
No.
right?
People
They've died. They've died.
A lot of people have died. There's been a little...
What are you, Trump? A lot of people have died.
A lot of people have died. I've said it a million times. I'll say it again. I remember I told them a lot of
It
people
was the
have
best
died.
wagon party.
It was the best wagon party anyone's ever seen.
They made the smartest decisions. And that's where
Beautiful dogs.
that's where the lies will end.
What's your obsession with dogs?
Again.
That's Shane Gillis. Beautiful dogs.
Fucking.
Anyways, we're getting off the rail, boys.
I know. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Video
I'm
games
sorry.
are fun.
We're here to talk about the Donner Party.
The liquor's doing the talking for me.
People
Good.
eating people.
The shit
Keep
winds are
going,
coming.
because we need you to be a little drunk.
So, in the Donner Party, they've left. They've gone across the Great Plains, and it is late October. They are early October. They are now have reached the base of the Sierra Nevadas. For those of you who don't know where the Sierra Nevadas, that is essentially where Nevada meets
Nevada.
California. Yeah. So
Lake Tahoe.
Lake Tahoe area. Actually, they're gonna end up pretty close to Lake Tahoe. If for those travelers out there, the Donner Party have essentially traveled what is basically the route of I-80. That's almost exactly the route they chose. So they are just outside of the border of California, and they've already experienced one snowstorm. They are extremely low on rations because they took the Hastings cutoff, which was supposed to speed up their travel. Rather, it led to probably a tripling of their time through what is Utah and eastern Nevada.
And spending time walking through the freaking desert.
And spending time through the desert. Animals are getting picked off by Native American tribes as,
Just lost.
They need food too. They get lost. They die. Wagons are being left behind. So they're up shit creek right now. And they've just spent an entire week resting before they trek into the Sierras.
Right. So to back up a little bit too, right? They went on that cutoff because of a asshole guide man who was trying to make a name for himself, never actually took the shortcut, then proposed a bunch of people to go on the shortcut.
And then took the shortcut with those people and then was like, ooh, fuck.
And this sucks. And he was too afraid to even travel with them because he knew they were going to try to kill him because he totally screwed over everyone. But I will say this, right? If you guys did not listen to it already, please listen to the first part of this episode. It will provide a lot more context.
This is definitely part 2.
This is a part 2. We're going to skip ahead.
And also what's going to be nice is we're already liquored up. It ain't going to get...
Yeah, we're starting off drunk. So
we're starting off drunk.
So
look out.
The other part I want to say, too, is think about the whole Oregon Trail in general, or the trail to California. It's mostly the Oregon Trail, too.
Yeah.
Right? The Sierra Nevada mountains are the last little bit, right? That's like the last mile in a marathon where it's probably the toughest, but you're almost there, right? That's where we're sitting at this point. Yeah. They've crossed the whole country.
They crossed the Great Plains
you just
leading
gotta
up
push.
to it.
They're right there.
Except for you're going up.
But
and the Sierras that's a pretty steep mountain range too. I mean, it's very steep, very jagged.
Right. So we're right there, and we're gonna go right into what happens. Right. Let's start with this section. We're gonna do mainly 2 sections today, and it's gonna. The first section is called meat. It's what's for dinner.
It's gonna be fun on a bun.
Because there's
kind of like a manwich,
and that's really the bulk of the episode. The next is going to be the rescue and relief of the Donner Party, and that's going to be it. So it's going to be mostly a story-based episode. But where we're at right now, this Donner Party is struggling. They're low on food, and they're entering the Sierra Nevadas.
Yes, and just to stick along with our regular episode traditions, we are 3 avid history buffs.
Yep.
Because we have a guest.
I am Big Matt.
That is Big
Jacob.
Matt, and I'm Nate. And this is a Historical Blunders podcast.
Let's go, baby.
Let's talk about cannibalism.
So picking up where we last left off,
Well, he busted out the book.
I busted out the book.
He's got it. It's
So-
his Bible.
What's that? And with how like how wore out this book is.
So,
worries
Show the
me.
camera, Matt, how it's worn.
This is a used book, actually. So by the time the party reached the Sierras by November 2nd, 2 large snowstorms had already fallen. November's pretty, I mean, you got snowstorms we talked about. They already had one in September. Okay. And so the party reaches Truckee Lake, which I believe is like the headway for like the Truckee River is a big river out there that it runs through Reno, Nevada, and things of that nature.
Which is the biggest little town.
Exactly. If you ever watch Reno 911, that is a hell of a show.
That's the guy with the shorts, right?
Dangle, baby. Jim Dangle.
Sexy.
Officer Dangle.
Hell yeah.
New boot goofing.
So actually,
Genuine ostrich.
Shut up, Nate.
3 payments.
This is what happens every time.
so Truckee Lake is actually called Donner Lake now, and we'll find out why. So a massive snowstorm hits. Desperately, some of the families tried to forge on through waist-deep snow to the top of the pass. Stanton and his 2 Miwok guides, Lewis and Salvador, they actually make it to the pass. They make it over the pass.
Yay.
And so Stanton's like, that's it. Full send right now. If we send it, we're good to go. Stanton goes back to the party. When he gets back, they've already broken out camp, made fires and everything. And Stanton's like, what the hell? We got to go. Like, it's either we go now or it's not happening.
We're going to be here forever, and we're going to start eating each other.
Yeah. Like, this is...
Do you think he said that?
No.
So, like...
No one's talked about cannibalism yet.
To me, the 2 worst decisions in the whole adventure was to take the Hastings cutoff and not do this. In my opinion, I think this one trumps the Hastings cutoff, because if they had done this, regardless of the Hastings cutoff, they would have gone over the mountain, they would have gone down to Sutter's Fort, and they would have lived.
It's another strike of we wouldn't be talking about this.
No, we wouldn't be. No, absolutely not. This would have been. This would have been not even a.
That.
And they got over the mountain and they lived in California.
This wouldn't even be a cliff note in a history textbook. And so they're adamant, and the women were like, no, we're not going to be subjective to, like, I think they said like a slave march or whatever, something to that effect. It's like,
You can't make me.
yeah, like, we're done.
I get the feeling from this now where most of the people are like just done. They're just checked out.
Yeah.
Like they just went through the desert. They're now in freaking snow.
Yep.
They're behind
Like,
already.
They're behind already. They're like, fuck this. I'm sitting down.
They're wore out.
So this.
I'm gonna have a seat.
I'm going to have me a sit.
So then they make camp and they go to bed. And this is what Kesseberg actually writes this. He said, "In the night I felt something impeding my breath. A heavy weight seemed to be resting upon me. Springing up to a sitting posture, I found myself covered with freshly fallen snow. The camp, the cattle, my companions had all disappeared. All I could see was snow everywhere. I shouted at the top of my voice. Suddenly, here and there, all about me, heads popped up through the snow. The scene was not unlike what one might imagine at the resurrection, where people rise up out of the earth. The terror amounted to panic. The mules were lost, the cattle strayed, and our further progress rendered impossible." Basically, there were drifts that were 10 feet tall around them. I mean, it was done. That was it.
It was at that point they knew they
Yeah.
fucked up.
Exactly.
Well,
Shit.
and like I mean, when we talk about a pass, we're talking about you're high up, you're above the tree line, right? That pass, after you get off the pass, it's downhill. That's blocked.
You just roll your way down.
You can just roly-poly on way down. No, it's blocked. And something we'll
wagons
get
and go.
into is, like, in the Midwest here, a good snowstorm's what? 10 inches, 12 inches, right?
At the most.
At the most.
times.
in the Sierras, you don't measure snow in inches. You measure snow in feet.
Ugh.
And so,
Fuck that.
yeah, we're talking, when we start talking about these snowstorms, we're talking about literal feet of snow falling. Heavy, heavy snow. So the pass is blocked. The party trudges back to Truckee Lake because there is an already existing cabin there. I'm probably an abandoned cabin that was used by fur trappers or mountain hunters, something to that effect. So there's already a structure there. Let's utilize what we have and we'll make some more structures. So in total, they built two more cabins. So you had a Murphy cabin, a Breen cabin, the Graves Reed cabin, and then the Donner camp was actually further back down the mountain a little ways at what was called Adler Creek. Okay. This snowstorm, again, Midwest, snows for what? Most of the day.
Yeah. 18
Snowed
hours.
for 8 days.
Ugh.
That's too much.
It snowed for 8 days. So, in the meantime, right about the same time, James Reed reaches Sutter's Fort. He secures supplies, and he tries himself to get back over the pass. But just like the people they tried to go the other way, he can't get over either. He has 2 failed attempts to get over the pass. All right. On November 12th, the weather clears. And mind you, it's November. It's still early, right? I mean, winter really hasn't set in yet. So there's a chance. 13 try to make it to the pass. The weather holds clear. It doesn't go. All right. So then...
So it's crazy at this point, right? It's November
Yeah.
and you're stuck. These people try to go and it doesn't work,
Correct.
right? Can you imagine you've like spent half the year traveling across the US and then you get to the mountains and you're up way high in the mountains. You get snowed in so freaking bad. You can't leave.
And you
can't do anything. And like it's November.
Yeah.
You're only 50 miles or so from Fort Sutter. I mean,
Yeah.
that's like, compared to how far they've gone, that's nothing.
Nothing.
You're right there at the finish line. You just can't get over the mountain.
Yeah. That's a day or two.
Yeah. No, when all was said and done in the spring, when they finally did the last relief, it took them 3 days. That was it. It's just
once it's cleared out.
yeah. Once it's clear, it's a 3-day hike with horses.
But with the amount of snow that they had, right? We're talking
It's
like
insane.
30 feet of snow that
It's
they had
insane.
to walk through.
Yes.
You just can't do it.
No.
Well,
it's not possible.
And there are winters in the Sierras that are bad. Like this past winter, it was a horrible one in the
Yeah.
Sierras. With the California, like today, they love those kind of winters because it breaks their droughts. They rely upon that snowpack to feed their reservoirs and to give them water. But to the reeds, it was awful. And there's other years where there's no snow.
Yeah, I saw videos of this year of out
Yeah.
there where it's like 30 feet of snow on top of their cabin, and they had to like dig
Yeah.
to get to their cabin.
Just imagine being without food in November,
Yeah.
and you have December, January, February, March,
And April. Because
April.
in the mountains,
Yeah.
winter lasts a lot longer than it does down here. Cabin fever, baby.
Bum, bum,
So, where was that?
oxen
Hold
were
on,
now
hold on,
being
hold on.
slaughtered.
Oxen were now being slaughtered. So essentially, your pack meal, your pack animals, your oxen are getting slaughtered for food. Some are being sold on credit, right? Because some families had oxen, others didn't. Like we said, this is starting to turn into I don't give a shit about you.
What are you going to charge me for that ox? Oh, an arm and a leg.
Oh, woo.
Oh.
That's a good one.
Thank you.
So
I'll be here all night. I live here.
with the weather clear and holding and the snow melting in the Truckee Valley Lake Valley, because you have to understand, like, the lake is actually kind of in a valley, so the weather there wasn't as bad as up on the pass.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was lower in elevation. They actually talked in November. When it was snowing in the pass, it was actually like a cold rain in the valley. All right.
That's what I mean. I wonder if they just backtracked. Would it have gone better?
I don't know. I don't.
When you get to the point of no return. And
Yeah, right.
I
It's
feel
true.
like you're up there, you're stuck.
You're
I
so
mean,
tired. Yeah.
Well,
you,
in
you
my-
backtrack
yeah.
some. I mean, you're
The issue is on the other side of the Sierras
It's
is
desert.
desert,
Yeah.
because it's in a rain shadow.
yeah.
Like the west side of the Sierras is going to be wet. The east side is dry because of that rain shadow effect. So you're literally stuck between a rock and a hard place.
yeah. It's not much going.
No. So the weather's holding, and then so 22 of the parties set out and so they successfully crossed the pass on the 21st of November. They get across. Here's the issue. The mules that Stanton had brought with him from Sutter's Fort, they couldn't make it. You know, we've all walked in the snow, right? You're in deep snow. Sometimes, you remember, I was always the heavy kid. I'd always bust through,
Yeah.
right? There's some people who just walk across
What's that
like
like?
a snow, the fat people here, like bust through the snow.
I would say mules aren't made for that.
And so they kept busting through. They kept punching through the snow. They couldn't go on any further. And Stanton was adamant that they were property of Sutter's Fort, and they had to be brought back to Sutter's Fort.
Oh, Stanton.
And so he said, we're not going. We go back.
We all need to die.
And so basically the three people who knew how to get back said, yeah, we're not going to go without the mules. So everybody else is like, well, fuck,
Shit.
we can't go.
yeah.
So they returned to Truckee Lake. They had made it over the pass.
Shame.
It was just about the stupid mules.
Those damn mules.
The kicker was the mules
Those
died
asses.
2 weeks later in a snowstorm. like
Great.
it was just we talk about this of there were opportunities. That was a huge one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They just made the wrong decisions every time.
Correct.
It makes me think, how many of these stories happened where it was like, and then they weren't stupid?
It's like they made a blunder.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Historical blunders.
I'm going to kick you in the teeth.
They said the movie out loud. How's that Family Guy thing go? Oh, they said the name of the movie.
Yeah.
So
that is how it goes.
yeah. So George Donner, we talked about it. We talked about in the last episode.
He just had a little cut on his hand.
any little cut.
He was fixing his wagon, got a little cut. His brother laughed about it.
Nope. He's
You
on his
pussy.
He's on his deathbed at this point.
See, my brother would laugh too. Oh, you're gonna die from that.
He's on his deathbed.
I can
His
just picture
arm
that.
is literally like basically rotting up. The rot is just carrying up the
Need a
arm.
good old amputation.
Well, see, the kicker with gangrene is like it's like sepsis too. Once your blood gets infected,
It's over.
it goes through your entire body.
Why do you think every medicine back in the day was a
Yeah.
blood purifier? All
Yeah.
the sicknesses were in the blood. The
Yep.
blood.
Yep. So
Got to get that bad blood out. Get them ghosts out.
Just let that blood out.
George Washington. They killed him.
this is when. So right now we're getting to about mid-December. People start dying. Okay.
It's getting
Aw.
bad.
Yeah, it's getting bad. So we're looking at deaths from malnutrition, pneumonia,
Cuts
like
on hands.
cuts on hands. One of the things that when you're very malnourished, your immune system is not going to work, right?
Your body
I mean,
does not work the
your-
way it's supposed
no,
to.
your body doesn't. So any like disease, think about it too. You're in cramped quarters.
The common cold.
It's damp. It's cold. You're gonna get sick, and
Sick in the head too. Let's be honest.
oh yeah, that's one of the things. The malnutrition is you get like you start to have like insomnia,
Get delirious.
delirious hallucinations, things of that nature.
That
It's
sounds like fun.
it is not a very nice way to go.
I would be an asshole. It's like the extreme version
are
of
an
getting
asshole.
hangry. Fuck you, Nate.
He would
Like,
be-
you know, I
he
get
would
angry
be
when it's
even
like-
more of an asshole.
If I
is
skip-
what you meant to say.
If I skip lunch and it's dinner time, I am not nice.
Your poor family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to know cabin fever? I was stuck in a room with him for a month.
It was fun.
So, like we talked about, when you're suffering from severe malnutrition, you can experience things like delirium, irregular heartbeat, which is an interesting one.
That's a weird thing.
Severe muscle pain, insomnia, hallucinations, and apathy. Basically, which makes sense. You don't give a shit about what other people think, or you don't care about other people, right? You're only looking out for yourself. So, like we talked about, George Donner was basically bedridden, and his wife was actually the one who kept the Donner family / cabin alive. She was the one doing all the chores, making sure everything was done. So Tamzine Donner. Tamzine.
Still don't like that name.
Badass.
Still doesn't like
To me,
it.
it's like the Tasmanian devil. Old Tamzine over here.
Just you can't get past the name.
No, it's a
He
weird name.
just doesn't like it.
She's cool.
Can we call her?
She's a badass.
Can we call her Tam Tam?
Yes, please.
Tammy.
Old Tammy Donner over
So
there.
Tammy Donner.
Sounds like a suburb mom. Little does she know.
So
Tamzine.
I can't do Tammy.
I could jump into and help.
So Tamzine Donner was actually the one who kept basically George alive and the rest of them alive. As we kind of talked about throughout this entire experience and moving forward, she was definitely portrayed as the heroine or the hero of this story, where in the face of all of these atrocities or grueling experiences, she kept going.
She was a leader of the group.
Yeah, really. And so on December 6th, at this point, they're eating bones, bark, twigs, and beef hides. They actually talked about it. They would literally, if you boil bones enough, they'll become soft.
Soft enough to eat. That's
yeah,
what
they're soft enough to eat. They were like tearing at rugs that were made of like beef hide, and they would just anything that was made
jerky, guys, just eat it.
like anything that came from a cow.
Yeah,
You'd eat. It came from an animal. Eat it.
I think they boiled skin long enough where it was like a paste.
Correct. Yes,
like
they
a glue,
did.
and they would
yes.
eat that.
Yes. Yes, they also talked about that.
So
eat a
like,
toe. Just eat a toe.
it's straight up. They're straight up not having a good time.
No.
I mean, how much caloric content can you even get out of that?
Once you get past the fucking taste.
I guess soon. Yeah, I guess so. So on December 16th, a party of 17 left the camp. They headed out on Snowshoe. This was the Snowshoe party. And they made really good progress. However, along the way, George Stanton went snowblind. So one of the things in actually Arctic explorers and people who live like up in the Arctic Circle, it's a very real thing. When the sun is out, I mean, we've all seen it on a very sunny day, it is blind. You can actually, it's no different than getting a sunburn. You can actually get a sunburn on the cornea of your eye and you will go blind for a short period of time.
It's similar to looking straight at the sun.
Correct.
I mean, you have to do it for a longer period to get the same effect. But when it's
like
when
arc
there's
flash.
Yeah,
from
when
the
there's
welder.
Yeah,
right.
it's no different. It will happen.
It's a real thing.
And so what happens is George Stanton, remember, this is the guy who went to Sutter's Fort and came back with the natives. He gets snowblind and he can't see. One of the mornings they get up, they start to get going, and he's just sitting there at the fire smoking his pipe. And they said, "Are you coming?" He just kind of says, "Yep, soon." Sits there, smokes his pipe. They leave. And here's the other thing, too. George Stanton, he's the only one who's come across that pass and back, right? With the two native guides.
Yeah.
And now he's dead.
And, well, yeah, he basically he basically reserved himself to die. He really did. He's like, yeah, I'll come along soon.
He might have died from hypothermia.
Which is a pretty stoic death if you're just going to be like, yep, I'm going to sit here and smoke my pipe and die.
This is a little bit of happiness he has.
Yep.
After I already made it to safety and came back.
Yeah, that's the shitty part.
Poor
and like
guy.
He could have gone across too with the fucking mules. That's the part. That's the part I'm just like, why?
Those goddamn mules, man.
Why?
I'd be like, fuck them kids.
Maybe
I'll
he
take care of
just
myself.
realized how stupid he was with the mules and was like, fuck it.
I can't live with myself.
Yeah. Smoke
Yeah.
this pipe, die of hypothermia.
So after a week of traveling, they're lost. It's at this point that many of the party and those back at camp, basically, they cared only about one thing. And we kind of talked about it. It was getting to this point. It's survival of yourself.
I mean, they're
not others.
Think about it. They're in a different world now. They don't have a cabin. They're out in the middle of nowhere. They're all gonna die.
It's like it's like this. Fuck you. I care about myself.
Yeah.
Whatever happens to you, I don't care.
They're in a different world.
Correct. Okay. This is where we get into this Wild West medicine.
Gotta love
and do we remember what the cure for frostbite is, guys? What do you do for frostbite?
You rub your feet in the snow.
You rub your exposed skin with snow. Yeah. So
classic Wild West medicine.
Which is, to me,
there's something to it.
It's so like, to me, it's so backwards. If you're freezing, why would you add more freezing?
Because the snow made it tingle.
Is that what it was?
No, I don't know.
I don't know. Like
in their minds, maybe.
But like,
we were like, so like, fuck, my hands hurt.
In my mind, I'm like, if you get a burn, do you continue to burn your wound?
So a common thing with frostbite is that you think about it, your hands and feet are frozen, right? Fucking stick them in the fire, and warm them up.
It hurts.
That's not what works though. When you have frostbite and you stick your hand where it's too hot, you end up burning your hand and having frostbite.
Okay.
So it does not work well. So what they did was to prevent your skin from getting too dehydrated, they would rub snow on it.
But it's totally fucked because it inflames.
It made the frostbite worse.
Yeah. It is totally messed up.
But it's to keep you from burning your hand.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, you get fire, you get burns on your hand and frostbite. It was a common thing.
I guess it's still a whack. It's still whack medicine.
Because that's how stupid me would think about it. I'm getting frostbite on my hand, but it's my hand
frozen.
Fire.
What do I do?
Yeah, right. I mean, that's how you would think about it. It's not. That's not how it works.
I guess.
Stick it in my ass.
So by Christmas Eve, the men in the party wanted to go back. The women said, "Yeah, hell no."
Hell no.
Hell no. They wanted to keep forging on. It was at this point that someone in the party,
oh yeah, it's time,
finally said
the awkward moment,
the unthinkable.
Someone's got to say it.
Somebody would need to die to feed the others.
Oh yeah.
Magically,
the fat guy in the corner's like, fuck.
No, bad idea. This was the first. This is the first time it was uttered. It did not go over well, which we wouldn't expect it to. Like we talked about in the previous episode, cannibalism, of all the taboos of human beings, cannibalism might be one of the biggest ones.
Yeah.
Right? You don't eat other humans. And it did not go well.
I'm glad you said that.
Why?
It's just worried. It makes me feel a little better about you. We do not eat other humans.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not stories that you want to do have to do with cannibalism.
I'm not an advocate for a cannibal.
And you spent a lot of time in Canada camping.
We caught a lot of walleye.
That's what you call it.
Huge walleye.
Is that code?
No, like legitimately, like when my dad and I used to go up, like we would catch like 24-inch walleye. Like I'm serious. Like they were huge. Like a 20-inch walleye was like, throw it back. Like, but we were in the middle of Quetico, north of the Boundary Waters. There was nobody there.
Yeah, because you killed them.
Exactly.
But here, the thing, someone mentioned, right? We need to feed the others, and it plants a seed in everyone.
Correct.
I wish we knew who exactly said it. Is it not in your book?
I can.
It's not really important.
It's really not. I just want to know the asshole that triggered this.
The thing that's important is that now the seed has been planted in the rest of the group.
Everyone's like, no, we can't do that. And then they're like, can we?
Like, well, even if everyone's reaction is like, hell no, they've all thought about it now.
They're like, ooh.
So that after 2 more weeks of suffering, and starving and being cold, I could see people starting to be like, well, we already talked about it. And now I'm kind of thinking maybe we should start eating people. Especially when people start dying.
You know, Nate's getting real slow over there.
Dude, maybe that's why all the men died.
It was a guy we haven't talked about. Is Patrick Dolan. Just
That sounds like a guy.
Oh
that
yeah,
wants to
I think it was Dolan because
Yeah, it was-
he ended up being the guy eaten. Too.
Dolan put the unthinkable
Yeah.
into words. Yeah.
I think got eaten.
Well,
That's
basically,
fucking great.
He was the first one eaten.
they basically fell silent.
Everyone's like, we can't do that. They're like, let's just
Let's
fucking
hold up
kill
and
him.
So Patrick Dolan suggested it, and he also suggested that they draw straws. They draw straws to see who would be basically a sacrificial lamb. And then others expressed concern. And then basically the plan was it basically turned into whoever died first
Let me.
would be eaten.
So they ended up drawing straws essentially for.
No, they
who
did not. No,
They did papers.
It was proposed that they draw straws. They decided no. They would basically it would be whoever succumbed to the elements first, and so that's what happened. So that night, someone died, and
Yay!
Sure.
Time to eat.
so what happened then? They didn't get to eat them at first, and so what they did. Like again, more bad accidents here. The party built a fire over a frozen stream. So obviously, what happens, Mr. Engineer? What happens to water when it heats up?
It done melts.
It
the
done
ice.
melt, and so eventually, it melted into the stream, and the fire died. Okay, so then when getting wood for a new fire, the axe head flew off the handle and it was lost.
The best,
And
I
the
think
fire
what
did
would have
not
made
happen.
the story better is if the axe head flew off and killed somebody.
Just whack somebody in the head.
Damn it!
Fuck.
Eat him.
Eat him.
So then somebody died, another person died that night as well. And then, yes, Patrick Dolan, the one who had suggested, basically planted the seed, as you had said, of cannibalism. He died that next day. And so that kind of cues into what you were talking about. During the late stages of hypothermia, for whatever reason, you actually feel like you're hot.
Because you want to party. You just got to get them pants.
Something weird happens with your brain.
Something weird happens with your brain and your body. You actually feel like you're hot, and you typically will strip all your clothes off.
So two things happen. You want to take your clothes off, and you don't want to be surrounded by anyone.
Okay.
So like, guys like stood up, take his clothes off, and just runs away like ah.
So
And they're like, oh, and then he dies in the snow. Like,
yeah.
I think it's maybe your body's way of saying like, I'm sick of being cold. Let's just die already.
Well, you know when you're so cold, it almost hurts like it's burning.
Yeah. Yep.
I wonder if it's not a more intense sensation of that.
Like it's just anything touching your skin and just
Like
makes you
a
want
fire.
to take it off.
Something
Yeah.
like that, or I think it's more just your brain is fucking cooked.
Oh, that could be. Well,
Your brain is just gone.
frozen.
It's
Not cooked.
Yeah, but it's just something. Everything's broken.
too
at
much
that
for
point.
your brain.
Yeah. It's just
I think your
You're-
brain's like, let's just die already.
Well,
please.
your brain has to be kept at a very stable temperature, or it will get all screwy.
I get screwed when I don't eat enough. So
Hangry motherfucker.
So yeah, so when
So the next day,
Dolan died,
when Dolan dies, the next day, they decide they're gonna eat.
it's time.
It's time for some manwich. So they basically they slice them up, cook strips over the fire, and as they eat, Dolan, nobody looks at each other.
and this is right. Let's
you
reiterate.
can't make eye contact.
No.
Let's reiterate. This is the first person to go
This is
and be eaten.
this is the first person that anybody in the entire, like at the cabins or anybody has eaten. This is the first one to go. These people, remember, these guys aren't at the cabins. These guys have tried to get out, and they are in the middle of the mountains in wicked snowstorms,
Straight up, not having a good time.
not having a very good time at all.
No.
Somebody else dies that night, and so one by one, the bodies are consumed, and because it's calories, the snowshoers regain their strength.
Yay!
Yeah.
And
cannibalist people I've seen before other things. So like the human liver is like so packed full of nutrients.
Oh, it is.
And everything.
And so like orca,
Any kind of
like
liver,
orcas.
really. Yeah.
What do orcas eat?
Seals.
No, they eat what kind? Orcas eat sharks. What do they eat out of shark?
Liver. I didn't know that.
Yeah, or orcas when they go for sharks, they actually eat the livers out of them because they're packed in protein and nutrients.
I know they're packed with. It looks so gross.
Yeah,
Liver and onions.
My mom made me. All right, awesome liver and onion story. So growing up, my mom was making liver and onions, and she threw it in the oven one night. She didn't tell us it was liver and onions. She told us it was steak. And I'm like,
did you like it?
no. I go. You don't put steak in the oven. She goes, it'll be fine.
Depends how you cook it.
So we're sitting there eating, and we're over here like, ugh. My brother comes in the door and goes, yeah, liver and onions, hell yeah.
Oh, God damn it, Ma.
Oh, dude.
Everyone else just throws up.
Oh, yeah. It's like if you're eating a person, you know.
Ugh.
That's Ted.
I've never,
Ah.
like my mom, because one of my mom's worst, she cannot stand the smell of liver. Like when she was growing up, she detested it. So like I've never had it before. But I've been told like it has a very distinct smell.
It's just not good.
It's well, and
My grandpa likes it.
I've heard it. I've had like heart, like chicken heart. They're very irony.
I've had venison heart. I've had beef heart.
Yeah, it's very irony.
Beef tongue.
But like
Yeah.
liver, I've heard is like another flavor.
Yeah,
it's like a much stronger
It
flavor.
was not good. I did not enjoy it.
But these were ethical people, right?
These
were taken-
people were ethically raised. They were ethically killed.
No.
They were free range.
They were free range people.
The point I'm trying to make is they were ethical in that
Yeah.
they did not eat the relatives of themselves.
Correct. That was one
We
of the.
draw the line there, okay?
So
we're
Yeah.
not
the
crazy
night
people.
that someone's brother dies, they're like, "Fuck, I'm not eating tonight."
You think they ate their dicks? I am just throwing it out there.
No, let's go like this. Do you think they ate the balls?
It's Rocky
They
Mountain
did eat.
oysters.
I think I'd rather eat the
breasts.
balls than the dick.
It's Sierra
They,
Nevada oysters.
they did eat the breasts.
I could, like, if I was eating dick, you know, in the mountains,
You act like you haven't done it before.
I would. If I was,
So on December 30th, they leave the camp of death. And soon they ran out of meat. And they're forced to eat their boots that were falling apart. like
What kills me is that they resorted to eating bodies
before
and-
boots.
before their boots.
I don't know, man.
Eventually,
Boots are pretty shitty.
I know, but they eat the boots, but they're like, well, you know, we just ate Frank over there. So.
it kind of makes you want to
Yeah, but
try and
Frank's
cook
got to taste better than a boot.
And the funny thing is, I just threw Frank out, and the guy's name's Frank Graves.
Oh, fuck. Nate, were you there? This is
Time
is
travel
this a
for real.
Highlander situation?
That's why he's so tall. He ate all the people. That gave him energy.
So frostbite, their boots are falling off. Frostbite's so bad, one person had their toe fall off at the joint.
Do you think they fought over it?
Oh God, it's my toe, dude. Would that be cannibalism?
What?
If it falls off and you eat it, yeah.
So you're saying if it falls off?
It's human
Yes,
flesh.
it's
If it falls
stop.
off your own foot.
Stop trying to legitimize cannibalism.
I'm just saying, if it falls off your own, no, because here's my point. It's your body consuming itself. Your body does it all the time with muscle.
we all
Matt,
cannibals?
stop.
I'm just
You put human flesh in your mouth and eat it. It's
it's your
wrong.
own flesh.
Stop it,
It'd be no different than you
Stop it
consuming
right
your
now.
muscles.
Matthew. You can't eat people.
I didn't say you're eating people. You're eating yourself.
If you're eating yourself, yeah, it's still eating people. You sick fuck.
Okay, so they it basically at this point, the people in the party no longer looked at each other as human. They literally started to look at it as, it looks like you're falling behind.
Yay.
Your food. Okay, so you can tell now. Like we talked about the whole delirium, and the big one was apathy. Right, the whole you don't care. You are in self-preservation mode. You don't care if other people die. That just means you get to survive another day or two longer.
At this point, you've spent months in pain,
Yes.
severe pain.
Anything that can relinquish that pain, be it a little bit, you're
hot
going. It's that
a
drug.
hot meal.
It's almost like a drug at that point. Anything you can do to get it, you're gonna do it.
Yeah.
Be honest with you.
No, yeah. I mean, that's the thing is, you've been in pain for so long.
Correct.
Just a hot meal. You don't
Correct.
care where you get it from. Life sucks.
They managed to kill a deer, but another in their party died.
So, like, I prefer people.
They carved him up because
It'll taste better than that deer there.
But at the same time, even if you kill a deer, the other person died. You still
waste the meat.
No, you're not going to waste that. You're going to take and utilize what
if
you
you've
can.
If you've already crossed the path of we're eating people now, right? I'm not saying when I'm out there.
So right now,
I don't know, man.
There are 7 remaining members of the Snowshoe Party. And
you start at 30?
The women were actually, they
17.
started at 22.
22.
No, 7.
I think it was 17.
I think it was 17.
It was 22, I think. I don't know. Where are my notes? It was 17.
It was 17.
Okay, so
yeah.
they've only eaten 10 people.
Well, so of the 7, I didn't include Lewis and Salvador.
Oh.
We're gonna get to that.
Okay. So
Of the remaining members, women are actually doing a lot better than the men. And mind you, they're hiking the same amount. They're doing the same amount of things. The women are still doing better. So I knew we had talked about that in the first episode of, well, maybe it was because the men were doing more. I mean, they're doing the same amount. You know, the women were still in good shape, and they didn't show
damn reserves.
They didn't show any signs of letting go. Like they were still going.
Lewis and Salvador are probably like, fuck, dude.
So
these women are not slowing down.
So Lewis and
eaten.
Salvador, these were the 2 Miwok Native Americans that came back with Stanton from Fort Sutter with the mules. One night, there is talk, and remember, these are Native Americans, right?
Slight rumors.
There are these. We talked about it. At the time, Native Americans were not even treated like second-class citizens. They were treated horrifically.
Like vermin, you said.
That's how it was described in one of their books, that they were like vermin. It was just, today we look at it and we're like, they're human beings. What the hell?
Different times. Manifest destiny.
It was different times, right? So there was talk. They heard, like, let's kill the 2 Native Americans and eat them. They catch wind of this, and they
like, fuck this shit.
They bug the fuck out, like, get the fuck out of here. And a few days later, they're found. A couple of the guys go hunting, and they see their tracks. They track them down, and Lewis and Salvador they're on the ground. They're probably half frozen. They're dying.
Yeah,
and they shoot them point blank, and they eat them. And they, in the settlers' minds, it was justified. They justified it to themselves as
they were supposed to stay with us, and they left us.
No,
so I get to kill it.
No, they justified it as, well, they were already dying. We hastened it for them. And at the same time, if we look at how Native Americans were treated, makes sense too, right? The way they
awful.
Yeah, the way they were treated, like they weren't going to bat an eye to that. So, here's where it gets really crazy. They actually are found by a tribe of Miwoks. These are the same tribe that Lewis and Salvador came from. And at first, the Miwoks, they actually ran away from them. They were scared shit. They legitimately thought they were ghosts. Like, we've seen Game of Thrones, right?
No.
You haven't?
No.
These had to look like...
You haven't seen Game of Thrones?
No.
What the...
Nathan. I've seen it. I
these
watch
have,
it religiously.
These have to look like
you
White
do.
Walkers.
Yeah.
Like you... So, like, they...
frozen and
they
pale
thought they
and-
were ghosts. Yeah, the Miwoks thought they were ghosts when they first approached them. They ran away. They were
like,
freaked
you're not
out.
even a human anymore, right?
Yeah. And so finally the Miwoks, they kind of nursed them back, and there was a nearby ranch. So I'm pretty sure they nursed them back at the Miwok
tribe.
I don't know what the word I'm looking for is.
Camp.
Thank you.
Settlement.
And they knew there was a ranch. You know, obviously they knew there was a settler's ranch nearby, and they took them to the ranch. It had taken them 33 days of basically wandering around in the snow, dying and cannibalizing to get out. And this was when the word first got out. All of a sudden, it's like, hey,
something big is going on.
Something's going on. There are these settlers that just came out of the mountains looking god awful. There's a whole bunch left up there.
Right. The rumors go around to the whole world, right? Of like, there's the Donner Party going on. People are stuck up there and they're eating people. And the people that we found are super fucked up.
I don't think it got out at that point that there was cannibalism. I think it was just at that point that, oh my God, there are people stuck up there. Remember when last summer when there was that whole Titanic, the deep Voyager shit, and it was like, oh my God, we got to save them. Da 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 da.
They were gone.
Like this would have been
immediately.
Yeah, this would have been like that version of that back then. Like, oh my God, there are these people suffering up there. It would have been sensationalized. Like, oh my God, the Donner Party's stuck up there. Like, what's going to happen next? Sort of a deal.
We're interested in helping them.
Correct. So back at Truckee Lake, tempers are wearing thin. Food's nowhere to be found. They've slaughtered all the animals that they could. And you have to understand, too, there are actually animals that were buried under the snow and lost.
Yeah.
It even talked about how they would actually go around and probe the snow where they thought the animals were to see if they could come on one that was under them. And so they would dig them out. Like, that's the desperate they were trying to find. Yeah, the animals essentially just died right where they stood or laid. And so they were trying anything they could to find food. Deaths from malnutrition. So January was a starving month. Cut to February, and deaths from malnutrition are just starting to mount. People are they're so weak, they literally just slide the body out of a cabin down an incline where they could get it.
It's just the death chute.
Whee!
It's the final ride.
It's like Sweeney Todd. Just
God, that's good. That's actually, applies, doesn't it?
Yeah, to more than one way.
Well, that's going to take us to our next section of the rescue and the relief of the Donner Party.
It's all happy and sunshine and rainbow.
Yay, everything great happens. No, it gets worse. It gets much worse. There's some really sick things that happen. It's not okay.
So yeah, in early
Don't
February,
eat people.
Yeah, do not eat people.
Yeah.
This podcast would like to condemn any cannibalism.
I think we all can
speak for yourself. I'm hungry.
Shit. Stuck in a tiny room. So yes, in early February, the first relief party of 14 departed to help bring supplies and rescue those trapped at Truckee Lake.
So yeah, let's. So people from the Snowshoe Party mostly die, but they do make it past and get word out. So now there's a relief party that's coming out to save everyone. Yay!
Yeah, and what's kind of funny is William Eddy, one of the survivors of the Snowshoe Party, actually went with.
Which is terrible.
It's
just
like
give the guy a break.
You just got.
He
through
wanted
all that.
to.
Yeah, that's the worst part.
Well, his wife and his kids were still stuck up there.
Oh, okay,
but it's like you just got through all that.
You're gonna go back,
and you're gonna go back.
Oh,
I mean, I guess, dude, he ate people. There's no going back after that.
You know what? Like, kudos to him. That's a brave dude for doing that.
Yeah.
Not the eating people part, but like the going back for his kids.
But yeah, the thing is, he just did all that, but he was so weak they ended up tying him to his saddle.
Yeah, right. I think at this point, he's seen some of the worst conditions any human has ever seen, and he's going back into it for his family. I think that's pretty tough.
But then the worst part is that his family died, like, as soon as he did that.
As soon as he left,
Yeah.
They actually
I'm
had
gonna
already
go get
died.
them. And then they died.
he didn't know that.
No, I would say he would never know that.
Yeah. Yeah, he was eventually forced to turn back due to his inability to travel on foot.
You mean being tied to a saddle would solve the issues?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
So when they did get back to the camp, I think it's funny that they told everyone, "Oh yeah, everyone from the snowshoe party totally lived, and no one died. Like they're all okay, because they were trying to save their morale."
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, obviously. I mean, George Donner is still alive. I thought
Barely.
Yeah, barely. But yeah, so by the time they actually reached the lake, there was only 7. So half the people that had originally left. I mean, granted, some people were forced to turn around, but yeah,
It's not going well.
it is not. They are not having a good time at all. But yeah, this George Donner is now dying. You know, the gangrene finally is getting to him. The 23 survivors were chosen to be sent back with a relief party. A majority of them were children, even as young as 3.
You gotta remember, like, there were kids here who were like 1. Like, that's insane.
But yeah, so George Stanton, you know, the guy that was blind, left to die, smoking his pipe. They actually found his body when they went back. Do you think any of them were like licking their lips or like?
I don't know. Was the relief party eating people yet?
No, the relief party actually had no, because they came
They
from
had
Fort Sutter. They had
supplies.
supplies. Yeah.
They were like, oh, real food now, and they're like, what?
Yep.
Not humans?
Yeah, but like we're not gonna waste people, right? It's like what the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah. One person hopped off the horse and started cutting them up. They're like, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, we're not gonna waste
This is
it, right?
what we do out here.
This is what happens.
You'll float too.
What?
All right, so at this point, a second relief party, led by who other than James Reed,
You skipped something.
left to come back and
the
save everyone.
Kesseberg children died on the second night of the relief trek.
The second relief party took off to go save everyone, right? And in that party, one of the Kesseberg children died on the second night of the relief trek. And for 3 days, they really suffered, and they had to eat old snowshoe hide, you know.
I'd prefer people, but you know.
Ugh. Oh, Matthew. So, you know,
Shame.
what's the key part of this is that it was led by none other than the celebrity James Reed. And he lived right around the time.
What a stand-up guy.
Yeah, like the dude, like
Obviously, he didn't stab anybody.
Yeah, it's totally cool.
honestly, like
Compared to what everybody else
of all
did.
the things, like yes, he got hot-headed, but I'll be honest with you, like tempers were wearing thin at that point. This guy actually like went up multiple times to get people.
Good for him. I mean, it was his family right up there.
Yeah.
So, like, not that good a guy. I don't know. But they ended up meeting up with the other rescue party, and they ended up getting some food in them. And, like, this was a point where people were starving so bad that they started eating and getting sick.
Yeah, so one of the things after your
One dude died of cardiac arrest.
yeah, like if you don't eat for a really long time, you're going to just gorge yourself.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the medical science is behind it, but you actually have, it's almost like stamina. You actually have to work yourself back up to eating a normal amount or you will get sick. I don't know, like I said, I don't know what the medical science is behind it. They called it repletion. But one of the people, William Hook, basically in the middle of the night, he's like, F it. I'm eating.
I'm hungry.
Oh, yeah. And like the entire next day, he was on the ground, like writhing. They tried to make, they actually gave him tobacco juice to make him throw up, like spit.
Yeah.
To make him throw up. And that didn't work.
Like, he must have ate something bad.
and
Let's get it out.
No, it's like if you eat too much, he actually died. They said cardiac arrest. It literally was from eating too much.
Put too much stress on his heart.
I've almost died from eating too much, man. Trust
So
me.
yeah,
Feels like
after
that sometimes.
after you have starved yourself, you can't do that.
Yeah.
You ever watch the show Band of Brothers?
Yes.
Dude, so long ago.
So
Yes,
like
such a great
one
show.
in the episode where they liberate the concentration camp, and they want to start handing food out to all the Jews and everything like that. The doctor, the medic comes along and he says, "You can't do that. You're going to make these people really sick. They haven't had
geez.
much food." Yeah, it's a real thing.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's just like when you're shrinking your stomach.
True.
Like dieting, like your stomach,
Shrink. Yeah, it shrinks.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it accommodates for what you're normally eating.
like professional eaters will stretch their stomach out
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And so,
It had. I mean, I guess if you're that shock on your system would
Yeah.
probably totally throw it into haywire.
and actually getting nutrients.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got to be a shock on your body.
So overall, right, the 18 survivors were rescued in the first relief. Along the path, 3 people ended up dying, but overall, pretty good. The second relief party arrived at Truckee Lake on the 1st of March. It was learned shortly after that the first relief party kind of started eating people, and like word was getting out that cannibalism was now a part of this story, which was a little bit shocking, right? And it's the next chapter is where things get really dark. Okay. What the party ends up discovering at the Donner camp in the third relief is truly jarring.
So they informed Reed that when they arrived at the camp, someone had just left the camp of the widow of the late Jacob Donner with the leg and thigh of Jacob Donner, for which he had been sent by George Donner, the brother of the deceased. That was given, but the boy was informed that no more could be given. Jacob Donner's body was the last they had. They had consumed 4 bodies, and the children were sitting upon a log with their faces stained with blood, devouring the half-roasted liver and heart of the father, unconscious of the approach of the men, of whom they took not the slightest notice even after they came up.
Oof.
Yeah.
And this is the story where Matt's like, we need to talk about this.
Yeah. So the worst part was that I think that they found the Donner girls and they were actually like fine
Pretty well nourished.
Yes.
because of cannibalism. Like that to me is just
So I'll say this. The door was
Keto
opened
diet.
to cannibalism in extreme circumstances.
yes.
Personally, I kind of feel like they could have cut back on some of the cannibalism.
They didn't have to.
They didn't have to eat as much as they did. Once they started eating it, it was like they went down a road.
At the same time, though, think about children don't need very much.
Well, then that aids to my point, right?
But at the same time, are you gonna you've heard your kids whine when they get hungry?
Yeah, but I'm not cutting up legs, and
You're
ribs
just
and
gonna take
arms.
a chunk off your thigh and be like, "Here you go, kid,
I'm just
shut
telling you, like,
No,
like
I get
we,
it. You want to take care of your kids no matter what.
we can all judge what it's like. I think until you actually get into that position, though.
Sure, but I also get to talk about how they were stupid in taking Hastings cut off.
Yeah.
Right? If it was dumb of them to eat as much
Yeah.
people as they did, I get to say it.
Yeah.
I don't think some of them had to eat as much as they did.
They could
Which
cut
is-
back a little bit.
A little gross. Viewer discretion advised on this episode. A little.
A little late.
I might want to put that in post.
Yeah.
Add that bitch in.
Not a happy story.
Oh,
So they get to the lake cabins, right? And the Donner cabins, and there were bones, carved up bodies hanging on the walls.
Dude.
A guy was carrying around a leg like you would like a log. And
that firewood, young man? Nope, dinner.
the Donner camp was pretty rough.
Yeah.
Right?
What's
A
crazy
lot of the
is that the snowshoe party and the Donner camp resorted to cannibalism.
Yeah, on their own.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
It was
yeah.
two separate
Oh yeah, true.
occasions.
It's not like they would have had communication.
Yeah.
It was we just resorted
There's
to
like,
this.
fuck it.
Well, and it wasn't just the Donner. I want to say the other cabins might have done it too, but it wasn't as well documented, I don't think.
Yeah, some of the families at least claim they didn't eat people.
Well, the Reed family at the end said, no, we didn't. Now, we talked about that might have just been a saving face of we don't want to admit that we did it.
Yeah.
I don't know how you would have survived without it. I know during the time they were eating people, they were actually actively hunting too. They were trying to.
They were trying.
I would hope so.
They were trying not to eat, Bill.
They were actively hunting for bear, but the issue is any bear is going to be hibernating at that point.
Yeah.
Deer are probably going lower elevation. I doubt there's any deer up there.
That being that high, you're not
in that
gonna
much
find
snow, they're gonna drop lower where there's not that much snow and there's more food. I mean, there really is no other food of meat to really be had.
Yeah. So the second relief party gathers up 17 people from the Donner camp, and all but 3 of them are children, so it's mostly children. And they go to leave and save those people. But they get stuck in one of the worst snowstorms that entire winter, which, to back up to, this is one of the worst winters the area has seen almost ever, right? And one night, the fire almost goes out, which would have been catastrophic if it did. Even so, one of the kids dies that night. That storm lasts for 3 days, and that party splits at this point. And some of them stayed at the camp and said, forget this, I'm not even going to try to do this. The others pushed ahead, and that camp would later be called Starved Camp. You know,
not a fun name.
No, not a happy name.
What do you think happened at that camp?
I wonder if they starved.
Yeah.
It could be. I don't know.
Did they end up starving?
I think they actually played some really fun board games and had a really good time.
In reality, they wanted to call it Domino Camp.
Yeah. It just
Monopoly game.
Yeah.
But they lost their dominoes, so they starved to death.
They called it Operation Camp. They did little. You remember the Operation game? That's what they played, except with real people.
Ironically, they played Operation.
So you know what's better than 2 relief parties? 3 relief parties. So the third relief party comes to save everyone.
Need a relief party.
They
for
just
my
keep
relief
sending
party.
people. And,
Well, I mean, I guess if you hear there's families and children
Well,
stuck
yeah,
in the mountains,
you gotta
like-
help them. Yeah,
Like you
it's
can't
tough.
take everybody at once,
Yeah.
right? Like if you wait until the other party gets back, there's not enough time. Like you got to stagger those.
Right. So 2 of the people in the third relief party were actually from the first relief party. So they're just super tough dudes, I guess, or they just don't know what happy life is like anymore.
Well, 2 of those guys, the 2 lead guys, they had family up there. still.
sure.
They had their one had a wife up there and the other had children up there.
I guess so. Yeah. Okay. He's doing his best to save everyone, but they get back to Starved Camp, and at this point, it's basically just a hole in the ground. So snow is 15 feet deep, 24 feet deep. It's a 15-foot diameter hole that they had to dig out.
No, so here's what happened. Because they had a fire, the snow would melt. And so the hole that was 15 feet in diameter by 24 feet deep, that was just from a fire. That's how much they had sunk into the snow based on the heat of the fire. They actually talked. They said as the fire would sink deeper, they actually dug stairs into the snow so you could climb out.
Yeah, not nice conditions. But when they did get there, they had a couple people were dead from sitting in Starved Camp, and they were roasting some meat on a spit when they got there.
Making a manwich.
But positive note, the Reed family did make it out safely.
They did make it
Yes.
out safely.
Yeah, so some positivity in all the cannibalism.
Yeah.
I like that.
Just imagine being like, we need to go save those kids, and you show up and they're just over there eating somebody, and you're like, should we leave these fucking kids?
So the third
Some
relief
Lord of the Fly shit, man.
The third relief party ended up reaching the Truckee camp late in March 13th. Unfortunately, found that most of their family had died and also
Been eaten.
Yeah.
And Louis Kesseberg ends up coming back into the story. At that point, he was accused of quickening some of the people's deaths
So
in order to eat them.
Yeah, so at this point, those remaining were kind of clustered in just a couple cabins. And supposedly the story goes that the boys were very close to death, and Kesseberg kind of took them under his wing, or whatever the story goes. And the thought was, well, he just offed them to hasten their death so he could eat them quicker. This is where we start to see, if anybody becomes a villain out of the story, it's becoming Kesseberg. Like, somebody, like, of all the cannibalism, somebody's got to be a villain, right? Everybody can't be a shining white star. So Kesseberg starts to become this victim. Rightfully or wrongfully, maybe he did. I don't know. Nobody really knows. There's a lot of hearsay. The accounts, stories get changed. Who knows?
What's also funny, Kesseberg ends up surviving this whole thing. And he goes to California and he opens a restaurant.
Yeah.
Specializing in meat.
Well, and we haven't even got to the end yet.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
the
it
worst.
gets worse
It
than
gets
Kesseberg.
bad.
He gets quite the reputation.
Yeah, so the third relief party is only there for 2 hours, and they get out. They get, basically, it's a lot of the Donner children. They get them, a lot of the kids, and they go. Really, all that's left is Tamzine Donner, George Donner, who's basically dead.
He's still
Kesseberg,
kicking, though.
he's still
Good for George.
He's still kicking. Kesseberg and a couple other people. And the third relief party is really easy time getting out. It's getting to be late spring. And so in April, the weather cleared and the fourth relief party goes up. It is an extremely easy time. It takes them 3 days. They get up there. And it's thought that at this point, it's probably just going to be Kesseberg and Tamzine Donner. It only took 4 days to get to the cabins. At the cabin, they found body parts everywhere with a large iron kettle full of human flesh outside of one cabin. It contained the parts of George Donner. His head has been split open and his brain was removed. And fun fact, the brain has a lot of fat. It's mostly fat. It's very highly, very high in calorie content.
Why do you know that?
How do I know that?
Yeah, how do you know that?
I know shit.
You know, I always
So
brag about
have you
knowing
ever
shit.
Makes me worried, man. I don't know.
have you ever eaten brain? Not human brain, but just
You're
brain.
not helping your case here.
Have you ever eaten brain?
No.
Okay. So the first time I went to France, I had I was with my host family,
Human brain.
and they said it was, I didn't know the French word for brain. That was one of the words I didn't know. And they said cerveau. And I was like, what the cerveau? Okay.
Servo? Yeah.
So like
I'll take
so
computer.
like they put it in front of me and I took a bite and I looked at it. It was like, imagine like fat paste.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm like, servo. I'm like, cervical. I'm like, oh, fuck. I know what this is. Yeah, it was like pork brain or some shit like that. Yeah, it's like, it's all fat.
Cool. I don't know.
Fun story.
I'm not eating brain.
So so they go to a cabin and they find Kesseberg. He's basically in this stupor. It's like any guy you'd find him in a
He's all alone.
Yeah, he's like cabin fever, right? He's like
Yeah.
rambling, he's incoherent, and
We're talking batshit crazy.
we're talking like, yeah, he's like mumbling bad. And so he's in a cabin, literally in the cabin, surrounded by human bones, and there's some liver and lungs in a pan. When they basically interrogated him, so like, how the hell did you stay alive so long? He said, well, I ate all the dead, including George Donner's wife, Tamzine.
Tasmanian's dead.
He is the only one left.
She's in Kesseberg's tummy.
Yeah.
He probably shit it out already.
Yeah.
He's the only one left at the cabin. He's the only one left at camp. Like,
At that
he is
point,
the
yeah.
last person there.
And it's not even like bad out. Like, he probably could have walked the rest of the way.
So,
Like,
and it wasn't. And so, like, I tried to show a little bit more of a. So when he walks out, they're hiking down the trail, and they stop to rest, get a drink or something to that effect. And he looks down, and he sees something familiar, like a cloak or something to that effect. And he's like, "That's mine." He unravels it and sees the body of his 3-year-old daughter. And so I put that in just to show, like, he was a human, right? He was a father. He was a person.
yeah.
And he lost a child. And so on April 29th, it was over a year after the trek began. The last guy, Kesseberg, came out, and that was it. That was done. They were out.
Yay, we did it. Everyone's like, oh, fuck, that was awful.
So, I mean, in the end, 41 people perished and 46 survived. I mean, if you're a glass
Batting over 100.
if you're a glass
Or
half
500.
if you're a glass half full kind of person, not too bad, right? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Yay.
I mean, just overlook the whole.
I'm more like you got 41 people died, 46 people super fucked up from what just happened.
23 barbecued and tasty.
Yeah, Matthew. Stop it.
Yeah, so kind of what we talked about in trivia last episode. One of the interesting facts was the children did way better than anybody else.
Imagine how fucked up those kids were for the future.
Well, and
I think kids are resilient. You'd be surprised how they can overcome
the
stuff.
interesting
How was your childhood? I don't know. I blocked it all out. I ate my uncle.
The interesting part is a number of those kids lived into their 90s. At least 4 that
Well,
I saw.
I mean-
Almost 90.
To me, what's crazy is that Reed, he lived till he was 74.
Oh, he had actually Reed was very prosperous. Once they
Yeah.
got over, he had a very successful business venture. And yeah, he was very successful. The other aspect, especially for the children, one of the Donner parties, and I think another Reed girl had talked about after that ordeal, they never left the house without food. Like, they would always have a candy, cookies, a snack in their pocket. They didn't leave without, because it was that experience of no food.
I mean, it took
Literally,
you to the darkest place possible.
Yeah, I mean,
It's almost like
a long-term PTSD.
It's like
Yeah.
a Great Depression survivor
Yeah,
with money in their mattress.
yeah,
It's a very similar
yeah.
type
Where
thing.
it's this such a traumatic experience has affected you so badly that you will do anything to not have it happen again.
It was either a cookie or candy or a friend who was weaker than them. Right?
It's like the
Why
story.
do you
huh?
think I keep you around?
Hey, bear's chasing you. You don't got to outrun the bear. You got to outrun him.
I got faith.
But I think another part of Survivor people examined over time was that the people that were alone on the trip, that didn't have a family or a support system, ended up faring far worse. So I think it
gave, well, I mean, having a family kind of gave you something to try, kind of live for.
Well, and I think that's
Yeah.
why the women
Yeah.
did better than the men.
And especially the children did better than the rest of them, is because I think a lot of it's a function of how much support can you
yeah.
get from other people.
Well, to an extent, I mean, kids. I mean, if you have a mom and a dad, like they're both.
I'm going to do
trying-
everything for my kids.
Well,
Are you kidding me?
They're trying
Yeah.
everything
And-
in their possible to keep those kids alive.
I mean, and
Right.
we're all parents too.
yeah.
Looking at it in an aspect of
I don't know if I could feed my daughter a person.
well, but I'm looking at the aspect of
You could.
I would literally be stressing every waking second to keep my child alive
oh yeah.
before basically their health would be way above my health.
And I would lie to them. I'd be like, "This is I found
It's a chicken nugget.
I found a chicken nugget.
Hey, I went down to the grocery store and got some beef jerky. Here you go.
Here you go. Where'd you get this? Don't worry about
It's
it.
just meatloaf. Don't worry.
Ew,
it's just manwich.
gross.
Um,
Sorry, everyone. This episode's so disgusting.
Yeah. Sorry.
So the last thing I guess we can touch on is this became a story very quickly. And I don't know if you guys have really, I'm sure in some podcasts you've listened to, like journalism at this point was like sensational journalism, where it wasn't like today where everything was fact checked. It was whatever sounded the best.
Well, yeah. I mean,
The
Print
Wild,
it.
Wild West,
Yeah,
baby.
Crazy.
print it.
well, yeah.
People eating people.
Exactly. And
Crazy
so,
people coming out of the mountains doing crazy adventures.
Yes. So a huge part of this whole story was really born out of sensational journalism of, oh my God, there were some people in the mountains and they
Yeah,
were
it's a
all
really
they were all
fucked up
killing
story.
each other and eating each other and all these other things. And it really wasn't that. A lot of them, I think they struggled
Yeah.
to eat others. I mean,
And I
You'd
think
hope.
a lot
I would
of,
hope, yeah.
So I wonder too, with that, the real truth of what happened may be debatable, because we are relying on people's testimonies and books written at that time based off people's
But
testimonies.
then, I mean, most of the people, they're like, we definitely didn't do that.
Yeah.
that's what I mean. Is like
But then you
it
got
could have been
Kesseberg
worse.
that's like,
it could have been
I
better.
ate everybody.
Right. I mean, there's some guys that were like straight up like, yeah,
I
happened.
fucking ate him.
Yeah.
had-
Part of me wonders, like, with how much, it's just interesting that, like, one guy was completely vilified, but everybody else was given a clean pass.
Yeah.
It's
true.
just kind of like, hold on a minute here.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, I know in these types of stories, you almost have to find, you got to be angry at something.
Yeah. You got to find the one fall guy.
Correct.
that could be the case.
And that's, I
Correct.
feel like that's what happened with him is, I mean, he was the last one.
Yeah, that's right.
I think that's what hurt him is he was the last one. And
Yeah, the last man out is the guy who's going to
Yeah.
be holding
And
the
then they-
rotten egg,
yeah,
or
and then-
whatever, the hot potato, last person
and
is
then
going to
they
get burned.
kind of found him with all that shit. And he's like,
Yeah.
I fucking killed him.
Because I
ate
mean,
him.
let's face it, George Donner was already dead.
Yeah.
I mean, he's back in his deathbed.
His wife tasted good.
I mean, it's a wild story of the worst conditions I
Yeah.
think people have ever seen,
Yeah.
and some insane means that people took to survive.
I mean, you do crazy things when you're desperate.
Yeah.
That's
It's
what it is.
It's human nature. We at the end of the day,
We're all animals.
Yeah. I was gonna say, as much as we claim to be
Civilized.
we are animals at the end of the day. Human nature, like I could go off into a whole tangent, and you and I have gone on this tangent about why like socialism or communism doesn't work. It's because people look out for themselves, because they don't care about, at the end of the day, people don't care about others. They want to take care of themselves and their family.
You have to make it people's incentive to take care of others.
Correct. And if it means life or death, yeah, they're gonna choose life
Yeah.
by
Alright, I
any
think-
which way they can.
I think it should note that, the last surviving member of the Donner Party
Yep.
died in 1935.
Yay.
Like, I mean, not
She
yay.
lived to like 90.
That's pretty long.
Not
Yeah.
yay.
I mean, I don't know what.
Well, I mean, I said he died, and you're like, yay.
Well, I mean, these.
But
they
no, that's,
lived
I mean,
that
what's
long.
crazy is that, 1935,
It's 90.
Yeah.
91. No,
91.
89 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, 91. It's 2024.
Is it? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So 91 years ago, the last
Yeah.
person that ate somebody died.
Yeah. I'm done talking about this.
You're all cannibaled out.
I'm all cannibaled out.
All right,
Matt's
guys.
like, when's the next cannibal story?
I know.
Leningrad.
Sorry, guys.
No!
This is our finished our 2-part
Yep.
series on the Donner Party.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on. That was
Thanks to Big
yeah,
Matt.
I
for
had
choosing this
fun.
topic.
I had fun researching this one, and
He wrote all the notes for us and everything.
Yeah,
I liked it.
I like it when guests do that.
I liked it. I kind of treated it like my own little project.
But if you guys do enjoy the episode, please follow us on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok. It's our big 3.
TikTok.
And if you do enjoy the episode, please leave a comment on Apple Podcasts. It helps us out immensely.
Yeah.
Follow us on whatever podcast platform you enjoy the most. Other than that, it's been fun. Thanks, Matt, for coming on again. It's a good time. We're all hot and sweaty in here. It's time to go out.
It's been a long night.
We've been on a long journey
Yes,
doing
we
a
have.
2-part episode in one night. So thank you all for listening and have a great week.
Stay hungry, listeners.
God damn it.
Stay hungry.